Hello everyone, my name is Robert Maxxim. I'm originally from Cuba and came to the States in 1969, and I'd like to talk to you today about many experiences that I've had over the years with extraterrestrial intelligence. My first sighting was when I was about 5 years old. I was in Cuba at the time, and I witnessed what I would call a mothership far off in the horizon. I had never witnessed an extraterrestrial craft before, and as we know, the Cuban government tries to hush any knowledge whatsoever of extraterrestrial life, so I didn't know what to think of it. When I came to the United States, then for the first time I began to see that perhaps I had actually seen something worthwhile to report. But given the career that I had, which was concert piano, I didn't really have the interest by then to really do much with that. It wasn't until I was about 15 years old that I had what I could call the big one. One night I was watching television and I noticed outside of my window several spacecraft. They were close enough to say within 50 to 100 feet of the house. I could see them clearly. Those would vanish, new ones would arrive, they would materialize, dematerialize, fly in, fly out. It was a great extraterrestrial show. I was greatly surprised by witnessing those spacecraft, so the following night I had a small 2-inch reflector telescope, and I decided I am going to go and meet them in person. What a great opportunity. So I went out with the telescope, and sure enough, I was able to see up close spacecraft, their windows, their designs, but suddenly I was overtaken by great slumber. So I headed back to the house. I never made it in the house that I'm aware of. I fell at the door, just basically fell asleep. Next thing I knew, I was in bed watching the clock. I passed out. Mentally, I went to a light tunnel and showed up in this wonderful spiritual place. I didn't know what it was, but I was told that I would be returned within 2 Earth hours, and that I was on a higher plane of the planet Venus. Not the Venus that we see here, but a higher version of it. I was then met by 5 beings. They were Nordic looking, light-colored hair, beautiful facial features, perfect body build. They did not speak to me. All the communication was mental. And I feel like I spent about 100 years of life on Venus learning different things, looking at prophetic information, receiving scientific information. Let me describe Venus a little bit. So everything that I saw seemed physical, seemed like you could actually touch it. However, it was crystalline in nature. The crystal nature of rocks, it looked like diamonds. Leaves, they were transparent. Flowers, they appeared like crystal flowers, but they were intelligent. They would turn to see you and almost like bow towards you, sending an aroma your way. Anywhere you wanted to go, you could just think of it and you were there. I was shown the inside of an advanced spacecraft. I was taken on board. The spacecraft was about 30 feet in diameter. It looked like a hat. So no bottom dish, just the top dish. The inside, the top dish was about 10 to 15 feet wide. But when I went inside, that cabin became 40, 50 feet in diameter. In other words, it was a dimensional translation. And I was just outstanded by how that worked. It wasn't until many years later that I understood how that actually worked. And I was given a message of humility. a message of why we are born in this dimension, what we're supposed to do with life, where do we come from, what is the spirit, what is energy, what is the infinite. And of course I was also shown how spacecraft operate. I went out to visit other worlds like Saturn, Mars, Alpha Centauri, and I'd like to talk about Alpha Centauri for a little bit because I think it's very important. All of my previous astral travels were a preparation, I believe, for this latest astral voyage. I had been to Alpha Centauri in 1994. I didn't know I was there, but I saw a constellation and a star. Based on that astronomical presentation, years later, I found out that I had been in Alpha Centauri. One of the stars that I had seen in that space display was the sun. And that's how I knew where I was. A couple of weeks ago, I had 3 astral flights. One, I was shown a stellar diagram with Vulpecula and 2 stars that were covering the Veil Nebula. I was told to please remember and disseminate this information. After looking at this picture closely, I noticed that it was identical to the formation of the star diagram I had seen back in 1994. And then I understood that this message was again from Alpha Centauri. I worked out the coordinates given to me on this vision, and I was able to deduce the precise location, the solar system, where the reptilian beings come from. I do have that information on my website under Alpha Centauri. The website is rgaetan.com, where you can see the mathematical derivation of the coordinate systems that zeroes in on the star system. After this vision, I was then taken to Alpha Centauri proper, where I understood that I was on the Apunian homeworld. I saw their cities, I saw their beings. They were so tall that at one moment, one of them allowed me to give him a hug. They were so tall that my hands standing all the way up, reached to their shoulders. So they were at least 9-10 feet tall. I was shown their educational facilities, their medical facilities, surgical facilities, but I was given 2 extremely important messages to give to the world. The first message is that man on this world lives to steal and to hurt one another against the infinite laws. Man has lost the touch with the infinite, and as a result, we not only hurt each other, but we hurt ourselves by going against the flow of the infinite. What is that flow of the infinite? We are infinite beings. As infinite beings, we are multi-layered consciousness. In this life, we are perhaps at the lowest level of consciousness, but simultaneously, we have thousands, millions of consciousness levels going all the way up to our superconscious, who is the most advanced layer, spiritual layer of our being. The purpose of life is in between lives in what we call death, which does not exist, is to go up in these consciousness levels to a higher spiritual frequency, learn from the masters in these higher planes and dimensions, and then bring that information back to this life so that we can enrich this lower consciousness of ours and evolve it upwards, so that eventually in time, after certain reincarnations, we will all be joined as one being and continue evolving into even higher dimensions. That is the mission of life on this world, to bring the teachings from a higher plane into this plane and evolve. We call some individuals that seem to practice what they learn in between lives as prodigies, gifted children. They're not. They're beings who have learned before this life in order to evolve themselves. If we fail to carry out these missions, we of course de-evolve, and causes us to have to reincarnate more and more and more times. So word to the wise, we all have a mission to carry out, and that mission is to practice the universal laws. But first, we have to reach within and take them from the heart and put them to practice. The key word is we have to give everything that we have for others. We have to help and serve the infinite. We have to serve the elements. If we do not, obviously the elements turn against us. We have discovered fire. We can use fire to a higher degree, to a higher level of utility. But yet if we misuse fire, it will burn us. It is the same with any other infinite energy in the cosmos. So that is message number one from the Apunians. Understand infinity, understand why we're here, and learn to stick to that mission. Don't be waylaid by forms of entertainment, excesses. They use the word excess a lot. Do not give into excesses, luxuries. Try to have whatever the Jones have, you want to have. We have to get out of that mentality. We have to live humble. We have to live simple, and we have to live giving. Once we do that, then we join the great infinity and infinite beings out there who live to evolve positively, and like the Apunians, they're helping us evolve with them in the same trajectory. The second message that they gave me is one of health. The liver is the key to most of our illnesses and aging processes. They called it a fourth generation degenerative disease. I was not aware of what this was, never had heard of it. However, studying up since the vision, I have been able to confirm what they said, that after age 21, the liver begins to contract, it begins to shrink, blood flow begins to diminish, and the proper functions of the liver diminish. As a result, cells die, and the body eventually dies, it ages. So the key to it appears to be two coded genes, in gene number 1 and gene number 20, in the generation of glutathione. The cells consume energy to do a process, to switch DNA on and off, to do the DNA thing that they do. And then it creates waste products. The waste products require antioxidants, especially glutathione, which is produced by 3 amino acids. If the cell cannot produce glutathione, either because the DNA is broken or because you don't have the right nutrients, the cell will die. The liver begins to die because it doesn't have the right nutrients. So, on my webpage is also information on how to resolve these genetic problems and what type of nutrients the body expects to have in order to achieve longevity and good health. A vegetarian diet is critical, and you will read that on the website as well. Animal meat is not adequate for human consumption. It is a poison, and so are processed foods. So with that in mind, the last key bit of information I was given is that after all is said and done, that we watch our principles and we watch our diets, we also have to watch our mind. We cannot tap into the interests of this world. The mannerisms, sometimes the kiddingness, the jokes, the things that most people enjoy, the sports, there are better things to keep in mind, and that is the key to your higher self. We must keep that attunement at all times. And if we can attune and live positively and recognize our past lives and all of the mistakes that we have made in the past and correct them in this life, That higher mental attitude will help open up the keys and the chakras of this physical body, and therefore heal it, rejuvenate it, and keep it in sync with the spiritual counterpart of the flesh, from whence we get the DNA. The DNA is not a physical operation. The DNA is a replica of a spiritual force. It is one spiritual node that replicates itself 1 trillion times in our body and has been constantly reproduced. If our mind is in tune with the right consciousness, so will this spiritual pattern descend and cover our body. So yes, doctor, heal yourself. You can do so by maintaining adherence to the principal laws, to serve others before yourself, to live positively, to keep a positive mind, to keep a positive attunement with your higher consciousness, and eat healthily. And most of all, serve, serve, serve. Serve the elements, serve your fellow man, serve the infinite. And then everything will serve you in return. This is Robert Maxxim bidding you adieu. You're welcome to my site, rgaetan.com. Everything for others.